a few days ago, Times Now accessed a letter written by Maoist Comrade M, referring to friends in the Congress who were allegedly funding the movement. The letter that you see on the right of your screens refers to that previous letter that I'm talking about. Here it is. Now, on the basis of this letter, 5 alleged Maoist terrorists were arrested on June 6th by the police in Maharashtra. One of them is a man called Mahesh Raut. Now, Times Now has learnt that Mahesh Raut, who was detained for Maoist links as far back as June 20th, 2013, yes, almost to the date 5 years ago, in Gadchiroli, Maharashtra. This is a well-known fact. What is not very well known is that a prominent UPA minister gave him a character certificate at that time, 5 years ago. A letter accessed by Times Now, here it is, suggests that Raut was in fact bailed out, so to speak, by a top UPA mantri close to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the Gandhi family. Here, as always, are the hard facts. Upfront, Times Now accesses a June 28, 2013 letter written by UPA mantri Jairam Ramesh. The letter written after the police detained Mahesh Raut, a PMRD fellow, a Prime Minister Rural Development Fellow in the Maoist hotbed of Gadchiroli. Mahesh Raut was detained after a raid on Maoist-infested village in Maharashtra. That is what we are told. That is also what this letter written by Jairam Ramesh alludes to. The letter addressed to then Maharashtra Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan urges intervention. Jairam Ramesh gives a character certificate virtually to Raut after an independent inquiry, in his own words. Yes, Jairam Ramesh conducted an independent inquiry, a parallel inquiry, when Raut was being questioned for his alleged links to Maoists. Raut is part of 5 arrested Maoist sympathizers, or urban Maoists as they are being called. He was arrested on June 6, 2018, eventually for his role in Maoist violence. So, 5 years ago there was a suspicion about him. 5 years later he is arrested. His comrades have been named in these letters, some of which contain death threats to the Prime Minister. There will be obvious questions that will arise. But let me first read out excerpts of this letter. Within weeks of this letter, the Home Department in Maharashtra also took action. But let's first look at the excerpts. I want to go through the excerpts one by one. Terror suspect in 2018, and today this individual, we are able to report, was bailed out 5 years ago. Now let's go through excerpt 1. And excerpt 1 is very direct. And it says, "May I seek your attention on a very serious matter relating to Mahesh Sitaram Raut, a Prime Minister Rural Development Fellow, posted in Gadchiroli." He is, remember, writing to Prithviraj Chavan. Let's look at excerpt 2. "I have seen reports in the press which indicate that the local police has been questioning him for about a week about his alleged links with Naxalites." It goes on. It says, "Following reports in the press about Mahesh, I independently inquired." Mark the words, "I independently inquired into the allegations through reliable sources." Let's look at excerpt 4. As a minister in charge of PMRD fellowship, I am concerned with the prolonged interrogation of the PMRDF, that is a fellow without an FIR, by the police. So Jairam Ramesh is very concerned that this individual is being questioned. And he says, I seek your urgent personal intervention to clear the air and bring the issue to an end so that the PMRDFs are able to work without fear. Let's have a look at the others, the other excerpts. Mahesh Raut, he goes on to say, should be allowed to continue working in Gadchiroli, and the collector may be directed to provide necessary support. Now the question obviously arises as to whether Jairam Ramesh actively interfered in a due process of law, in an investigation, to stall an inquiry, to abort an inquiry into the activities of an individual who was being suspected, viewers, by the Maharashtra police. That's the question. Obviously, by his own admission, he says, yes, I'm seeking your urgent intervention. Then what happens? Prithviraj Chavan, whose name is scrawled across this letter in Jairam Ramesh's, presumably his own hand, there you can see it, writes to the Home Department of the state government saying, please look into this. My dear colleague at the center, the Rural Development Minister Jairam Ramesh has written to me and he wants this particular investigation stopped. And subsequently, that is exactly what happens. 5 years later, that same individual who was bailed out quite literally by Jairam Ramesh is part of a plot to destabilize this nation. At least that's what allegedly the police have to say about Mr. Mahesh Raut. Now, there are different aspects to all of this, and I want to first go across to Megha Prasad, who's accessed this letter. Megha, Wednesday last, you created ripples by reporting a letter that had been written by Comrade M to Comrade Rona Wilson, who has been arrested. Mr. Rawat was one of those 5 who was arrested on that particular day. Today we have a letter from Jairam Ramesh, written 5 years ago, almost to the date, saying that release Rawat, free him, don't question him, don't prosecute him. He's a good man. How did Mr. Jairam Ramesh know all this? He conducted a mysterious parallel inquiry, an independent inquiry, and he was told by some unidentified sources. Don't you find that strange? Is there even a correlation?
Well, Rahul, you know, a lot of questions that this particular letter raises, this letter that you've been showing, the letter that we have accessed, this raises too many questions. And also, of course, the entire story does not end with this letter of Jairam Ramesh to Prithviraj Chavan. It goes on into some tangible action, which is the letter in Marathi that we just put out, which is, in fact, let me just give you the details of that, Rahul. This letter by Mr. Jairam Ramesh was written to Prithviraj Chavan on 28th of June 2013. Now, just right after that, within few days of receiving that letter, here is a letter written in Marathi. This letter has been written by the section officer of the Maharashtra government, and he writes to the SP Gadchiroli. SP Gadchiroli, the copy is also marked to the Director General of Maharashtra, and in this copy he says that they make a reference to the letter written by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, and they ask for a report to be put up as soon as possible. So it all, you know, turned into some concrete action And post this, Rahul, I am told by the cops who are investigating this entire matter now that after this questioning, these people, that is one of them is Mahesh Rao, they were allowed to go. So nothing actually happened in this connection. And the question that raises is that why did Jairam Ramesh not allow an absolutely legitimate police action to go ahead? On what basis did he say that the alleged links of his with the Naxals had no base at all? What investigation is he referring to that he conducted himself? Did he actually find out? And even if he did, what jurisdiction did he have as the rural development minister to interfere into an investigation being conducted by Maharashtra police?
Yes.
And now conveniently, the people who were a part of the government back then have put it all on the former Home Minister, Mr. R.R. Patil, who's dead now. So how do you get your answers, Rahul? So many questions that this thing raises. Had this man been arrested back then, perhaps the situation would have been different. He was arrested just last week because he was allowed to let loose or let off the hook back then, 5 years back, when police were actually moving on a very credible
Was he
input.
already well entrenched with the Maoists 5 years ago and was bailed out? Or did that happen subsequently? Maybe, Megha, as you rightly say, had this individual faced the law at that time. And remember what the DIG, Ravindra Kadam, then said. And I want to bring that out. June 23rd, 2013. He said, we have reports about Mahesh Rawat's links with some Naxal front persons in Chandrapur. We are ascertaining those links. Let's look at the next graphic. We'll pull that out. We have reports about Mahesh Rawat's links with some Naxal front persons in Chandrapur. When was this happening? 23rd June 2013, 5 years ago. But this was all stopped. Any investigation into Mr. Rawat's alleged links was stopped. Today, Mr. Rawat is in jail, arrested on the 6th of June for his role in fomenting trouble against the Indian Union. Those are the charges yet to be proven. Was he innocent then? Was he a suspect then? Or was he simply a scholar then? We don't know, because the investigation was never really allowed to continue. It was aborted. And the irony is, viewers, that this exchange between Jairam Ramesh and Maharashtra government was happening after a series of devastating attacks against the Indian state, including the Congress party. 24 were killed in Bastar, May 25th, 2013. Then there was an encounter with Maoists around the same time. Once again, 8 villagers were killed. That was May 18, 2013. And then in Jagdalpur, Doordarshan office was attacked once again around the same time. So when the Prime Minister at that time, Manmohan Singh, was waging war against these Maoists, his mantri was busy writing character certificates for an individual who was supposed to be a Maoist sympathizer. Now, while Jairam Ramesh was making a case to secure the release of Mahesh Rawat, the Prime Minister at that time, Manmohan Singh, was describing Maoists as the greatest threat to India's internal security. Listen to him at that time.
If you remember, I have been saying for the last 3 years that Naxalism is the biggest internal security challenge that our country faces.
Well, the Prime Minister at that time was saying that Naxalism is the greatest internal security threat to the Indian Union, and his mantri was doing quite the reverse, making a case for sympathy, for Mr. Rawat. Now, did that result in a massive national security failure, which led to the events that we are seeing unfold before our eyes 5 months ago in Bhima Koregaon? I can't say. That is for Mr. Jairam Ramesh to tell us. We have tried to contact Mr. Jairam Ramesh. We sent him WhatsApps in the morning. Navika Kumar, my colleague, sent him some WhatsApps. He seemed to have read them because they had double blue tick marks, but he hasn't responded as of now. If he does, we will update this story and this broadcast with his reaction. The Congress party has reacted. Others have reacted. We spoke to Prithviraj Chavan. I'll come to that in a short while. I just want to open this out. Sudesh Verma of the BJP with us, Shadat Poonawala, lawyer, Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist, Sabha Naqvi, a senior journalist. Also with us, Dr. Fahad Halim of the CPIM and Clyde Crasto of the NCP. Sabha Naqvi, you wanted to make a point? The question is direct.
Yeah.
Does a UPA Mantri's intervention on behalf of a Maoist sympathizer prove that Congress has links with urban Maoists?
No, it does not. But let me just frame. You must remember what happened during the UPA time. Chidambaram and Manmohan Singh had a different policy. To Digvijay and Jairam was suggesting a different policy, and at that time eventually Sonia Gandhi wrote a letter in the in-house magazine which said that the human touch and the human approach, there was a whole debate within the UPA time about how to deal with Maoists, and Chidambaram became very, very unpopular with the sort of left lobby for going with what was later on called Operation Green Hunt. And secondly, I disagree with your juxtaposition that somehow Bhime Koregaon was because of Maoists. The violence came because of chauvinists attacking Dalits.
See, I don't know.
That is, you are ignoring that part of the narrative, and I will reinforce that.
I don't know, honestly.
And I don't think there's any
both sides
debate.
have been charged.
Yeah.
So let's be honest.
No, there was a serious battle within the Congress.
Okay, can I, because you've sort of said I'm being selective, I just want to make it very clear, not being selective at all. There is the Sambhaji Brigade, there are individuals who have been thought to have been the agents provocateurs, but there's also letters after letters that have been written by Maoist comrades to each other, congratulating each other
and by the way,
for a successful infiltration into Dalit ranks and inciting them against the Hindus who were described as neo-Peshwais.
These beautifully written letters have to stand legal scrutiny.
Yeah, of course, they're in court.
You know, they're in court. We'll have to see what.
But this doesn't, because this is on record. But this is on record. No, I don't know if politics was. See, that's not defense, Sabha Naqvi. You say that there was a split in the Congress ranks about how to approach it. Now, I mean, you know, there are people who will tell you today that pelters should be given amnesty. And the state says no. We should take action and jail them. Now there's convergence, but that doesn't mean that these pelters
is guilty.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Mr. Rawat today is being tried. I've been constantly saying alleged on the basis of certain letters which are allegedly, supposedly, at least the police say, of evidentiary value. They might be fake. That's for the courts, for the probe.
Mr. Rawat
has been claiming. But the question remains. I can't understand this. The same UPA was jailing the Binayak Sens.
Yes, true.
The Soni Soris. Yes. They were also important individuals. Why was their heart bleeding for this one individual who's also an intellectual, who's also a person who held
obviously
a
this
position?
Person knew Jairam and worked with him, and that is how the
so that's the only criteria. I work with somebody. What is this internal? Independently inquired into allegations.
I want to know which minister has the power to conduct an inquiry above the local police's jurisdiction. What are the powers?
The centre cannot interfere in the
investigating agencies at the disposal of Mr. Jairam Ramesh. That should be answered.
Law and order is a state subject. So here you have 2 or 3 issues.
No, I agree. I agree about that. I'm just making a larger point about things.
No,
investigations
let me bring in Mr. Verma. Mr. Verma, I want to ask you, will you believe, do you believe that this letter is incriminating enough, and if so, why?
Rahul, it's a shocking thing that has come up, because those who were giving cover, we thought it's only ideological cover that was given. If Congress leaders, more particularly when Jairam Ramesh was acting as cover, because they've actually sealed it. The operation that could have been apprehended long time back by the police.
But that's, you're presuming that Mr. Rawat is guilty.
Of course, that's what I am presuming. Yeah.
So
the investigation was supposed to be
stopped. This man has been saying that he was being harassed by the police in 2013.
The whole point is now the investigation.
He was only innocent back then because there was an intervention. Let's not forget there was an intervention.
It should go to NAC also. That NAC was also filled with Naxal sympathizers. That what we are doing, because NAC was having direct confrontation with the PMO, and there are many stories that came. Now the fingers are being pointed. You have letters showing that. So now the investigation should go to the doorstep of Jairam Ramesh also. What was he doing? Why was he conducting a parallel inquiry? And why did he give the clean chit?
So what Jairam Ramesh has said is there in writing. It's there for us to see. What police has said, that evidence has to be proved in court of law. He has not done anything
in these years.
Can I, if I'm allowed, 1 minute, gentlemen, please. This is a very important point that needs to be emphasized. We had a union minister, viewers, union minister, who came out and said that this individual, Mr. Raut, who has today been arrested for being an alleged Maoist terrorist, sympathizer, what have you, alleged, he's innocent. That's what a UPA minister said 5 years ago, because he had somehow conducted a parallel independent inquiry.
No right
when the police at the state level was doing its job, the police was allegedly asked to call off.
So today
to call off the inquiry, so we don't know.
But the laws under which people get arrested for these so-called links and they get out after many years in jail, there is very little legal requirement for these kind of alleged offences, and the Maharashtra police
that's
is one
not
of the
for us to decide. That's not for Sabha
So today saying that the police can be
in the Gauri Lankesh murder.
That's what are we
if a right winger would have got such
1 second,
sir. If a right winger would have got such assistance कि इसका probe बंद कर दो गौरी लंकेश murder में, and the letter would have come from a BJP minister, what would these people do? They would be with placards on Jantar Mantar.
What would you do, sir? What would you do?
You are saying today that Maharashtra police can be influenced. They are being influenced today also.
1 second.
That's what Mr. That's what you are saying.
लेटर लेकर आना, इसको कंडेम नहीं करोगे पर इसको कंडेम नहीं करोगे. Vinayak Sen was convicted by a court and then put in the planning commission.
This can be,
is that good?
This
is that correct? Vinayak Sen was convicted by a court for sedition. Mr. Mishra,
and what you are saying,
don't allow your
but he was also given bail. He was also given bail.
Vinayak Sen, a Maoist, was convicted for sedition and was taken in the planning commission.
He is, what I am saying
See, you should be rational. Should a convicted person be in the planning commission?
The minister has written, we have written proof, he hasn't done anything behind
Who
the
knows
back.
how many attacks?
I don't want to go into the Binayak Sen case. It's sub judice. It is still being. No, wait, please. Let's confine ourselves. There is an issue here, and I want to bring it. Mr. Clyde Crasto first. Mr. Crasto, your NCP, your big boss, Sharad Pawar, comes out and says these threat letters are fake. Are you also going to dismiss Jairam Ramesh's letter as a fake? Or are you going to say this letter and the circumstances of this so-called independent inquiry should today be probed? Will you make that demand? Or will you be hypocritical?
No,
Stop the hypocrisy.
Rahul, can I talk? No, the fact is, the one thing that we cannot deny is that I can read the letter. It's on your screen. The letter is in your hand. It's all there. And in 2013, Jairam Ramesh has written this letter. Fair enough. There was a probe against this Raut, and it went on. But my question now to you would be:
it was told.
2014.
No, you're purposely conflating issues. A probe was ordered into the alleged Maoist links of an individual who was working in that area because he was the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow. The police suspected him. They arrested him rather than detain him for questioning. They didn't arrest him. They detained him for questioning. Jairam Ramesh intervenes on his behalf. The probe allegedly is stopped.
Yes. Let's talk what you're saying. What you're saying is Jairam Ramesh intervened. He tried to save this person. The letter states there's a line there addressed to Pitraj Chevan. I can read all that. I can understand what you're saying.
So then,
but my question here is from June 2013. Please hear me out. To 2014, there was a UPA government and there was a Democratic Front government in Maharashtra. But post that, there has been a BJP Shivsena government in Maharashtra. Why did you wait?
Why was, sir, your government bowing to the dictates of a minister at the center? What was the compulsion? I'm asking you.
You could have brought
your sympathies are misplaced.
Right when this
the NCP partnered with the Congress and you surrendered to the center.
It's always going to be questionable.
No, you surrendered to the center. I'm asking you, sir. No, you are asking me to apply my mind. I'm asking you to apply your logic.
This
Listen to me.
Always with the Maharashtra government. This letter was always with the Home Department. You could have got this letter out 6 months back and questioned Rahul.
What do you think has been happening? Let me bring in Megha Prasad. She's going to tell you. This has been an ongoing inquiry now for the last 1 year. Do you know? No, do you know?
Always going to be a question.
Do you know, sir? Don't try to obfuscate here on this show. The hard facts are there. They're indisputable.
No, I'm
asking you. No, I'm asking you. Could the police have dared? No, I'm asking you, sir. Could the police have dared to detain a PM research fellow, a Prime Minister research fellow, without strong enough reasons to suspect his motives? I'm asking you.
2 years ago.
True.
You answer me this simple question. Don't beat around the bush. Clyde Crasto, listen to my question. Listen.
No, I am not.
Listen to my question.
I am not going to beat around the bush. You ask me as many questions you want. I will answer those questions. I will not beat around the bush.
Good.
I will not digress. Ask
Good.
me a question.
So
I am
pay
ready to
attention.
answer.
Listen to this. Could the police have
Yeah,
dared?
I take attention.
Could
but
your
I
police?
want you to pay attention to my answers
Could your
too.
police? Could your police have dared to detain someone as influential as a Prime Minister research fellow appointed by the Prime Minister without
Why not?
strong enough reasons, sir,
Why not?
to suspect his intentions? I'm asking you, when you
Why
know
not?
that that person
Nobody's above the
is
law.
close.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Exactly.
Except for Mahesh
Exactly
Raut,
the point.
where an exception allegedly has
So
been
why
made.
were you waiting?
Why?
Why were you waiting from 2014 to 20?
That's not the answer for this exception.
How many letters to come?
How many letters to written to other people?
Government waiting.
Forget that, sir. Answer my question. You made an exception for Mr.
No,
Rao.
why should we forget
Why
that?
did you make
You
that
only want to
exception?
talk about the time
For
between
Colonel
2013 and
Purohit.
2014.
Make that,
Why
make
can't
that
you
same
talk
exception for
2014
Colonel
and
Purohit,
2018?
who you
Why should you
allegedly
forget that?
illegally bundled up and interrogated. Hello? Excuse me,
So now-
because
so
it
now
didn't suit your
Now we
narrative.
know that these things can happen.
No, I'm asking you. 1
where
minute. I'm not
people
talking
can
to
be
you.
found.
Keep quiet. 1 second. I'm talking to Mr.
Listen,
Clyde
if-
Castro.
one
Let's get his
person has to
response.
talk because I
You
cannot
make
decide for what you're
exceptions
saying.
for
One
your
person at a time.
ideological brothers. You don't make exceptions for people on the other side.
No,
which
no
proves my
exception.
point.
There is
Arbitrary
no exception in
intervention.
law. When there is law, there is no
What is
exception.
funny is
Everybody is to
Let
be
me ask
treated
you.
equally under law.
Saban-
Sabana,
want to know,
let me
Rahul.
ask you. Listen
I
to this.
will tell you
By his own
from
admission,
the
please
time-
allow me.
Yeah.
Allow me to ask you a question.
Yeah, okay.
He says, following reports in the press about Mahesh Raut, I independently inquired into the allegation through reliable sources.
Yeah.
Now listen to this. The problem is here, and it says follows.
Yeah.
A minister at the center,
I agree with
a probe
that.
going
That
on at
part
the
of it
state
I
level.
agree with.
State is independent of the center on law and order. He's conducting some abstract independent inquiry.
Yeah.
Does he share the details?
No,
we
it's
don't
not
know.
good form.
We don't know because Jairam Ramesh hasn't talked to us. Has he
Yeah.
not talked to us because he has something to hide? I don't know. But he also says, through reliable sources, who are these reliable sources that the police in Maharashtra had no access to, but Jairam Ramesh sitting in Delhi had access to?
So Rahul, I agree with you that there is a question here that people should not be interfering in police business, but I'm again repeating what I said earlier. There was
No,
a
but why were they
huge debate
interfering?
going on.
If they
There
should
was a
not be there, why were they interfering?
There was a very ham-handed people were being picked up at random.
That is
supposed
not
to be
for us to
Naxals
decide.
coming.
Hang on.
No, it is
Let's
for
talk
us
about,
to
okay,
decide.
so let's talk about who
If
was being,
law-
so let's talk about
if
who
the
was there.
law-
So let's talk
If
about
the
who
law
was being
tends
picked
to
up.
label
Rahul, there's a
and
larger
people
question
are innocent
also.
till proven guilty.
Absolutely.
the law
But here
dealing-
you
the law
interfered
dealing
in the process of law.
Rahul,
UAPA,
there is a
Tata,
larger question
these are
also, Rahul.
Suresh Verma has a larger question for you.
Larger question is that
Make a quick point.
what
Let him make a quick
was the
point.
criteria?
Let him make a quick
What
point.
was the criteria for giving this scholarship to this person?
I'll come to you.
Was it actually funding Naxal activities in remote areas?
No, no,
That is
no.
very
The
important.
TISS
Because
no,
see,
one
we have
minute,
always
one
said
minute, one
that
minute.
leftists
Let me explain
and
that.
Naxals and liberals, they are
Okay.
happy with getting plum scholarships
Let me explain
from the
that.
UPA government,
Let
and
me
they are
explain that.
very happy about it.
Okay,
So
Suresh Verma,
was
have
it
you cooled
purposely
off?
funded
Suresh,
Have
Naxal
you cooled
activity?
off? Suresh
That is
Verma,
also
let me ask you a
important.
counter question. Before you jump to conclusions,
Yeah.
1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Jairam Ramesh explains the whole procedure. 156 young men and women having a bright academic qualifications and the commitment to serve the poor in these difficult areas was selected in 2012 through a highly competitive selection and induction process by my ministry with the help of TISS. The states concerned were fully involved in the selection process. These selected youngsters were then made available to the state governments in 9 states. The fellows are posted in the districts by the state government and under the direct supervision of the district collectors. But it doesn't mean
That's not.
Let's do
It
the
doesn't
background
mean
check, Rahul.
that they can't
Let's
get
do the
sucked in.
background check of all these
It
people
doesn't mean-
who got this scholarship.
No, that's right.
Because
No,
this was a
that's right.
prestigious
That's
scholarship.
right. That's
You
a valid
send people
question.
and
Answer the
so
valid
many people are
question.
found to be involved in Naxal activities.
Ordinary
So it calls for
people,
question.
you can hardly function in these areas, which I have been to these areas as a journalist. You can hardly function without anyone who is not on the side of the police being labelled a Naxal supporter. Journalists, lawyers, everybody gets labelled. There is a point here where UAPA,
But it's not about being labelled. It's about crossing a line which fails to, which distinguishes you from being a sympathizer to an active
How do we
overground
know?
overground worker. Now we don't know because because the probe was stopped in its tracks. The police should have been allowed to find out. If for no other reason, but for the benefit of Mahesh Rawat, had he been cleared then, today you could have argued persuasively to say there's vendetta at work 5 years later. But you don't know. That's the problem. The greatest disservice has been done to Mr. Rawat by Jairam Ramesh. We'll take a short break. We'll come back in 2 minutes. We also have from the left with us, and I'm going to come straight across to Mr. Fahad Halim right after this short break. This is getting bigger because we have a response now. Years ago, a comrade called Comrade M in these letters had written to Comrade Rona. Rona today has been arrested, and they were talking about how the Congress party has promised the Maoists. The Maoists are of course designated terrorists in this country, with legal and financial aid as and when needed. Now, as we examine the contents of this letter, another letter has appeared. Times Now has been able to access it. Megha Prasad has accessed this letter. This letter dates to 5 years ago. This letter was written, the one from the comrade to his other fellow comrade was written about 5 months back. This was written 5 years ago from Jairam Ramesh, seeking an end, viewers, very important, seeking an end to a probe against an individual called Ramesh Sitaram Raut. 5 years later, this same individual is arrested along with 4 other Maoists for, among other alleged activities, trying to incite Dalits into rioting. 1. 2, for an alleged plot to assassinate the Prime Minister. And worst, 3, to pitting communities against communities to destabilize the Modi government at the center. Now the question is, why was a senior Congress minister interceding on behalf of a Maoist suspected sympathizer? Why should he have been doing so? Jairam Ramesh explains his reasons. He said this is a distinguished fellow working on the Prime Minister's rural development program, and therefore he needs our help. Well, so was Binayak Sen. So were other distinguished individuals like Soni Sori. So were others like G.N. Sai Baba, distinguished in their own right. The Congress went after them, but not after this individual, who 5 years later is in jail today, facing charges under the UAPA, the Anti-Terrorism Act. And I want to bring in this evening Dr. Fuad Halim. Dr. Fuad Halim, Mr. Jairam Ramesh says that he was conducting some independent inquiry into the allegations brought 5 years ago against Mr. Rawat. Through reliable sources, he said, I have come to the conclusion that Mahesh was working successfully with the district administration in helping the poor to access government programs, and that he was not, in fact, sympathizing with dangerous Maoist terrorists. This letter, by the way, was written just within a month of the biggest attack on the Congress party ever, where its leadership in Chhattisgarh was exterminated by Maoists.
Just a month after?
Just a month after. And I'm asking you,
Rahul,
Dr. Fahad Halim, does this confirm
Rahul,
that the UPA, that the Congress had ties,
permission to make 2 comments?
No, that had ties with Maoists? I'm only asking you a question, superficial as it is.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that today the government of India spoke, and Prakash Javadekar made a comment on this issue. And what I find unfortunate about Prakash Javadekkar's comment is that he is alluding to the Maoist assassination plot of individual annihilation. And in free India's history, the first plot and the first an assassination of an individual based on ideological differences was that of Mahatma Gandhi by the Hindutva icon Nathuram Godse. And Prakash Javadekar forgets to mention individual annihilation and India's first tryst with individual annihilation. The second comment I'd like to make is that the government of India and the government of Maharashtra are not speaking, the members of the government are not speaking in the same tone in regard to this issue. We have seen differences coming from within the government. The government, if on the issue of the security of the Prime Minister speaks in different tongues, then there can be nothing more unfortunate
Dr.
than
Fahad
that.
Halim, the only people who are differing with the government's point of view is the NCP, is the left, which is saying that this threat doesn't exist. It's a figment of the BJP's mind that this has been done, invented to divert attention.
No, sir. You have Rahul. You are ill-informed. Okay. You have not read the comments that have come from the NDA.
As for example,
please do not mislead the nation.
Please give some examples.
Today, the government of India and the government of Maharashtra are not on the same plane in regard to this issue.
Please give some examples.
In what sense?
The fourth point
I
I'd
know
like to make
that
very
the Chief
briefly.
Minister of the State of Maharashtra has come out and chided the opposition for trivializing an assassination attempt. Yes. Sorry, sir. I don't know who you're talking about. Name names. Tell us.
Rahul.
Tell us. Fadnavis agrees
very well.
with the Home Minister. The Home Minister is today reorganizing the security.
Rahul Fahad
so who
is
are you
trying to
talking
divert
about?
the issue.
He's trying to talk about Ramdas Athavale, I think.
Ramdas Athavale? Are you talking about Ramdas Athavale?
Talking about the Shiv Sena editorial. The Shiv Sena editorial. Let me quote for you. Let me quote for you the sarcasm that the Shiv Sena has given in its editorial. लाखों साधारण नागरिक मर सकते हैं लेकिन उनके नेता को जिंदा बचना है. This is
as good as Shaila Rajput. Forget the sarcasm. The government of Maharashtra has spoken to the Chief Minister.
Submission to make. Please don't allow the issue to be diverted. He is trying to divert the issue. That is not the issue, Rahul. Rahul, that is not the issue of your debate. I want to raise important issues. You see, if we don't agree with that, we have made our issues. That investigation should happen. It should not be taken lightly.
Because Shiv Sena has been mischievous. It is playing politics.
Shiv Sena has not spoken in that language. Come on, don't say all these. You question the investigative agency. We don't do that. Allow me. But coming to the larger question.
One second. Please allow me. Don't shout over each other.
Allah is saying is ridiculing this charge. You don't want to hear it.
Rahul, let me make a point about this.
Can you give me 30 seconds?
Okay. Shouting out
One
Fahad
second.
Halim,
Samanatvi,
who
30
has
seconds.
waited for half an hour.
Let me ask you, Fahad Halim, let me ask you a counter question. You see, sir, on this issue, let me ask you a counter question. Please respond to me.
Let me finish.
Dr. Fahad Halim.
Let me answer your question.
No, you answered me at length. Now listen to me.
I want to answer
your own
question.
government in Kerala has two views about the PFI, SDPI.
Yeah.
It's a radical organization. Your own left government.
We are talking about the Prime Minister's security.
You're talking about the left government.
Rahul, I'm talking about the Prime Minister's security.
I'm talking, sir, about people who play politics over death threats. So you know, you have been a victim. You should be actually condemning anyone who today tries to trivialize an assassination attempt on the Prime Minister. Says very serious.
The way it is being handled, I am concerned. I am very concerned that the government of the day, both in Maharashtra and at the central government, is not actually diligently proceeding with the investigation. The primary prerequisite for the investigation did not require this letter to be produced in the remand court. This was a separate matter. The remand was being asked for a separate issue altogether. By producing this letter,
have you finished your point, or is it a declamation?
Rahul,
it's very
have you made your point?
Rahul is diverting
the main
issue.
Have you made your point?
I am dissatisfied with the way that the investigation has started off.
Okay, you might be dissatisfied, sir.
I think so.
But let's talk about this letter. Letter written 5 years ago. Why are you not addressing this issue? Why are you not addressing the issue? The principal question on the back of this letter is, does this confirm a Congress link with the Maoists?
Rahul, I want
answer
to make
that question.
A few points.
One minute, answer that question.
I have very categorically said, Rahul, that whatever evidence you produce should be made part and parcel
Okay.
of whatever
Rahul,
that
I
is
have
taking
points
in
to
this
make.
regard.
Tell me, sir.
Rahul,
But
Tell
the
me, sir.
question
Mr.
is
Fawad,
that,
kindly listen to the
that
points I have to
the
make.
investigation
Very
You can,
serious.
we can silence
Which is
you
very
now, sir.
serious.
You made your point.
And
Let's
I
silence him.
think so.
Yes. Very quickly.
These 150 people who were given a scholarship, we have to ensure that they did not act as foot soldiers of the Congress to create trouble in the rural hinterland. You see, we have to also see which are the areas they went to, whether they were members of overground student wings, whether they belong to NSUI or ISA or SFI. This is a very important thing, because if they were really scholars, they should have come with report. So what kind of report they brought when they went on scholarship? So was the Congress not funding Naxal, and what was Mr. Jairam Ramesh not needing this funding? That is the whole issue.
I'm being told Prithviraj Chauhan, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, has spoken to us. Prithviraj Chauhan, 1 minute, gentlemen, please. Okay, calm down. Very important breaking news coming in. Breaking news coming in. Prithviraj Chauhan has spoken to us, and I'm being told Mega has spoken to him, and he says, I mean, well, police don't question any innocent man. They must have got some strong enough reasons to get him investigated or questioned. I don't want to quote him out of context, so let's just play out the entire conversation between Megha Prasad and the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Mr. Prithviraj Chauhan, to whom Jairam Ramesh was writing a letter urging him to intervene and call off the probe against Mr. Mahesh Raut, who is today arrested for being a Maoist sympathizer and terrorist, allegedly. Let's play this out.
Mr. Prithviraj Chauhan, sir, thank you so much for speaking to Times Now. I am going to ask you a question in connection with the ongoing story, which is obviously in the context of the raids and the arrest that has happened of the alleged urban Maoist. Now, Times Now has access, sir, a letter that has been written by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, the then Rural Development Minister, to you when you were holding the position of the Chief Minister of Maharashtra.
Well, I will have to now search my memory. I don't have any documents before me. But I believe what you read out to be the letter written by my very dear friend and colleague, Sri Jairam Ramesh, who was the then Minister for Rural Development. And I also know from my personal knowledge that Mr. Jairam Ramesh was working very closely in Gadchiroli, particularly empowering the local people. And one of the most significant work that the ministry did that time was to empower the local people by giving them rights over forest produce, particularly bamboo. And I remember that we together went to a village called Lekha Menda, and with a function and all that, gave the rights over the forest produce to the local villages. So that is the background. Mr. Jairam Ramesh tells me apparently in this letter that there is a Prime Minister's Fellowship Program which is thoroughly scrutinized, and I know you just don't, anybody doesn't go walk into it, must have been scrutinized, and based on the background and his willingness to work in difficult areas, he was selected by the Prime Minister and asked to do some development work. Now this person apparently, from the letter it seems, that was questioned by the police. And
a question in connection with his connect with the Naxal, sir.
No, I mean, well, he was questioned by the police. Police don't question any innocent man. They might have got a strong enough reasons to that he should be investigated or questioned. Now, so when the letter came to me, the natural process is to get it examined because it's a letter from a union minister. So naturally, I would have forwarded that letter to the then Home Minister or the then Home Secretary. I was not holding the charge of the Home Ministry. My colleague was the Home Minister. And the Home Minister, apparently from your letter, it seems that at the appropriate level, they might have sought a report from the local police authorities. Now, beyond that, I don't think, although I marked the letter to appropriate authorities, I don't think that the report came back to me. If it has come back to me, I would like to see that. I'm not sure because it's from memory. I have no documents at all before me. So it is a routine matter when a serious complaint has been made by a very senior functionary of the central government that is investigated and looked into. I don't read into it anything saying that you stop your activities and get lost and back off.
But
the investigation was done.
Yeah, okay.
Now, investigation, I don't know what I'd like to know what was the report sent by the local police authorities in Cultural District.
You don't remember clearly. But
I didn't come to me, Tom.
Okay, so Prithviraj.
It is a jurisdiction of the Home Ministry.
I should point out at this stage that the police action against him or the questioning that was happening was then suspended, and it just didn't go forward at all after that. So clearly the action was stopped. Whatever was happening was stopped.
No, but then I need to know, I need to get the papers who ordered the action to be stopped, and or some police had recorded that I got an order from some officer in the Home Ministry or Home Minister himself and all that, and based on that, whatever steps they're taking. I have no document to say that steps were being taken, were stopped or not stopped or continued, or when investigation is being made, there are only two outcomes. One is the person is found guilty or person is not found guilty. Now you cannot presume that person was guilty.
Prithviraj Chavan, very balanced, very honest. He says, police don't question any innocent man. They must have got some strong enough reasons to get him investigated or questioned. If that was the case, then why was Jairam Ramesh writing letters, character certificates? Does this letter, written 5 years ago, hold a key to whether there is a Congress Maoist link? Shahzad Poonawalla, quick response from you.
If you read it in the context of the first letter broken by Times Now, it says that legal aid would be provided by Congress people.
You're talking about the letter that
letter you all exposed just last week, which was
on Wednesday,
which was the letter exposed on Wednesday, which showed that there was a Congress hand of support to these Maoists.
I'll tell you what that letter said. Yes. Let me just tell you what that letter said. This was written, Dear Comrade Rona. Rona is of course arrested. One of the 5 arrested. The other person is Mahesh Rawat, who we are talking about. The letter says Lal Johar, and it is written to Comrade Rona by Comrade M, and it says, Senior comrades from the CPI Maoist urban leadership have had prior talks with our friends in the Congress who suggested to continue Dalit mobilization more aggressively. Whatever legal and financial aid is required, they are ready to provide through the intermediary Jignesh.
So if you contextualize it with this, but we are not here to sit in judgment. Maybe Jairam Ramesh didn't really know. It could have been an act of good faith.
No, but he didn't say that. He said he knew. He said, I independently inquired into the allegations
and that's what he needs to explain. But one thing that piques me is that never a letter has been written by Jairam Ramesh for the CRPF Jawans who get entangled in legal tangles by the stone pelters. Never a letter comes for them. The letter comes for these kind of elements.
So you're saying that this proves that there was a deepening, perhaps existent link between Congress and Maoists. That's what you're saying.
Ideologically, 100%. Because has there ever been a letter for a nationalist army man who has been caught in a legal tangle in Kashmir? Never.
If that was the case, why was your government? If your chief minister of that time says the police don't question any innocent man, they must have got some strong enough reasons to get him investigated or questioned, then why were you crawling?
What is your definition?
He only asked you to bend, but you were starting to crawl.
You don't consider.
Why? Clyde Crasto?
No, you let Clyde answer. But I am completely appalled night after night by your definition of nationalism.
An army man is not a nationalist? A CRPF Jawan.
My definition, not my definition. You're probably talking about Shahzad.
I'm talking about
a CRPF Jawan who is being beaten up by stone pelters is not a nationalist.
Clyde Crasto.
Then who is?
Your chief minister. Clyde Crasto, your chief minister. Okay, 1 second. Ashutosh, the chief minister.
The Adivasis, the people that should not be forgotten. Not just the forces. I will always stand with the people first. Forces are not there for some valor. They are there.
We're not talking about Adivasis and we're not talking about Naxals. We're talking about Maoists. Maoist terrorists. Gandhiji was oppressed along with millions of Indians. He didn't go out with the Kalashnikov and shoot Britishers in the streets. No, let me tell you. No, my nationalism, no, ma'am. My nationalism draws the line at bloodshed, and I don't think anyone can condone bloodshed ever. Listen to this. Listen to what the statistics are. Listen to the number of attacks that these Maoist terrorists have carried out. They have murdered up to 80 Jawans at a time.
Yes. Have you looked at the toll of Adivasis?
Are you saying that Maoists are Adivasis? Are you saying that they might be extracted from Adivasis, man, but they are militarized? Listen to this.
And then you're still writing letters like this? And you're still writing letters like this?
That's
a different story.
Tomorrow, no, 1 minute. Tomorrow, listen to this argument. Tomorrow, pelters will pick up Kalashnikovs and they will shoot off and murder people, and we will say, but they are also got human rights. This is the flip side. Come on, how are we valorizing today? Violence. Violence begets violence, Saman Naqvi. We should not be. We should not be. We should not. Do I have Clark Rasto?
You never talk about the people who live there. Why don't you talk about the Dalits who are attacked?
But there is an outreach. The government is reaching out to them. That doesn't mean that you organize yourselves into a militia and call for revolution. Do you know what this letter says? Do you know what this letter says that has been written by these alleged Maoists? If this letter is true, what does it say? It says yes. It says, listen to this.
I want to know the toll of tribals, innocent tribals who have died.
Listen to this. They are talking about a person who has died. And they say that this is a vindication and that we must actually exploit this death. Listen to this. Comrade Shoma and Comrade Surendra authorized to provide funds for future programs. The Bhima Koregaon agitation has been very effective. The unfortunate death of a youth must be exploited to prepare future agitations and propaganda material.
Shame.
Please explore, listen to this, the possibility of new fact finding to further highlight the incident. In another letter, they write about acquiring through crores of rupees M4s. I don't even know what an M4 is.
And it's an assault rifle, more dangerous than the AK-47.
And lakhs of rounds of ammunition. We want to arm. What do you mean you don't know about this? These are things that are written. We can't be blind to them. Did Mahatma Gandhi fight the British with a battalion of individuals loading up guns and shooting them? No, he won the fight through a moral argument. Moral argument.
By defaming Congress.
No, the flip side to this argument, Saman Naqvi, is
that a bunch of whatever they are. I don't want to say.
Who?
Maoists. I'm not at all. I'm just saying people are at the heart of these conflicts. There are human beings who are not
people
Maoists.
Who are being exploited. Dalits are at the heart of these conflicts because Dalits are being exploited. Dalits are being made pawns by terrorists and opportunists. It's here. It's in black and white allegedly. But I leave it at this because any debate that we do gets caught up in politics. We don't put India first. We don't put people first. Violence beget violence. We can't justify violence. We can't say, well, you see, people must arm themselves to take on a state because the people are defenseless. The people must organize themselves into a political movement like Mahatma Gandhi did if they so desire to seek liberation from oppression. We have a precedence. Why are we forgetting the father of the nation who paid for his life? We leave it at that. We leave it at that. This continues. More angles on this big story. More angles on this big story. UPA Mantri writes for Maoists. Why did he write it? Why should he have been writing it? What does it prove? Coming up on the News Hour.